Demand in the Rutherford County housing market is holding, but is it enough? We've been talking all year about pendings being up year over year, and they continue to do that, but is that enough to keep our inventory levels from rising? We're going to talk about that and some other things here on the Murfreesboro Real Estate Report. I'm John Turner. I'm the team lead of the Turner Victory team at Onward Real Estate, and we bring this report to you every week where we cover Murfreesboro, Laverne, Smyrna, Eagleville, and everywhere in Rutherford County as far as the real estate market goes. And this week, we'll start out with the 3 things you need to know about the Rutherford County real estate market. As I hit on just a second ago, demand is holding. So pending home sales continue to remain elevated above last year. Along with that, new listings actually continue to be under what we had last year. We're going to look at some charts that will show us this in a minute. But the very interesting thing about that is our inventory levels continue to rise. We're up to 1,626 available homes on the market right now. That's 10% higher than where we were this time last year. So continues to rise. With that, our month supply has stayed fairly stable this week. But anyway, number one, demand is holding. The second thing you need to know about the Rutherford County real estate market this week is that nearly half of all sellers, so nearly half of all the homes that come on the market, never reach the closing table. People think all the time, I put my house on the market, it's going to sell. Right now, 1 out of 2 homes are selling. The actual figure is 45.1% of all listings over the last 6 months expired or canceled. Now, some of those do expire or cancel and then come back on the market. Some of them just give up. But every situation is a little bit different. But for each MLS number, nearly half of the homes that go on the market do not reach the closing table. The number 3 thing that you need to know about the Murfreesboro and Rutherford County real estate market right now is that in Murfreesboro itself, the median sales price is $489,900. The interesting thing about that, though, is that is where the most of our new inventory is gathered. So the median home price in Murfreesboro and in Rutherford County is where most of the new construction is clustered. Okay, we have it all in all prices, but there's a big cluster there. What does that mean? Because that's the important question. What does that mean? Well, if you are a seller, that means that you have a lot of competition. As a matter of fact, I've got it in here somewhere, 37% of homes that go under contract, actually 37% of all active inventory in Rutherford County right now is new construction. So basically, whenever someone goes out to shop for a house and look at it, they somewhere between every 1 out of 2 homes to 1 out of every 3 homes they look at will be new construction. So if you're a seller, you are definitely competing with that. We hear sellers all the time say, well, a buyer will overlook this. A buyer will overlook this. Whenever they go to new construction, they don't have to overlook anything. And you pair that with this point right here, which is what it means for buyers. Builders are offering incentives, a lot of incentives. Most of them are going to pay your closing cost. A lot of them have purchased mortgages where they can actually buy down your rate, or either they've got set up where you could get into a fixed rate. I just looked at one this week. It was nearly 1.5% below the going rate right now. So a lot of incentives for buyers, and a lot of buyers are starting to migrate that way. At the Turner Victory team, we can help walk you through that and who's given the incentives and what they look like. But from a buyer standpoint, you have opportunities. From a seller standpoint, you have a lot more competition. So let's jump into numbers right now. Let me switch over here to where we are. So this week for Rutherford County, our Turner Victory Team Market Health Score is a 46. That actually is what it's been the past couple of weeks, which means it's still a pretty balanced market, but it is slightly favoring buyers right now. We talked about this a minute ago. Our active listings, 1,626. That is higher than we've seen in quite some time. The 3.66 month supply of inventory technically means it's a balanced market, but it does feel like it's favoring buyers more so than sellers, and we'll show you some of the data on that here in a second. The 30-year fixed mortgage rate is at 6.49%. It's up just slightly from last week. Every week I say this, but it seems like we may be getting somewhere in the Middle East, and that's been something that's really hurt the mortgage rates right now. I know that as I talk, where I get gas just went below $3 a gallon today, and it was nearly $4 a gallon here just a few weeks ago. So whenever you start thinking about inflation, and that's something that hurts mortgage rates, it does appear that some of that's starting to ease. So hopefully we'll see some easement with the mortgage rates coming up here shortly. But again, I tell people all the time I have a crystal ball, but it's cracked. So take that for what it's worth. Let's look at the different brackets here. Y'all know we break this down every week. The light blue stands for the percent of new construction. As you can see, out of the 1,626 homes on the market, 36.7% of those are new construction. The ones that have closed this month, 33% of those are new construction as well. But if you look at the homes coming on the market, almost 45% of those are new construction. So a lot of competition out there. We talked about the month supply below 500,000. You're below 4 month supply. So that puts you in the green. Anywhere between 500 to a million. You're really in a balanced market right now and from a technical standpoint, even though to most sellers it probably does not feel that way. And once you get above 1 million in Rutherford County, you are in a buyer's market, definitely. We talked about this a minute ago, talking about the inventory. This is the highest level we've seen over the past 4 years. And I would submit to you one of the highest levels we've ever seen in Rutherford County. I have not gone back and looked at the pre-COVID data, but during COVID, with homes not staying on the market very long, it's hard for me to imagine that our supply would have been this high. The month supply, though, the good news with that is it has remained fairly flat here over the past few weeks, and that's because even though our inventory has gone up, our pendings have continued to keep pace. And if you look at our new listings, we talked about this, the orange line has stayed below last year's levels pretty much all year. So we have not been bringing in as many new listings, and you would think that would start eating into our inventory. But it hasn't, because even though new listings are down and pendings are up, the pendings are not up enough to eat into all that new listings. So we have seen a rise in inventory. The other thing is, and I've got a note here on it. Let me see. Let's talk new construction for a minute, because new construction comes into play in this. Out of the 1,626 homes on the market, 104 of those are labeled as new construction to be built. So what does that mean? That means it's really ghost inventory. They don't exist. A builder puts a home in the MLS, hoping that a buyer will see it, come out and visit their model home, and then they'll be able to select their plan, their lot, and everything of that nature. So it is a way for a builder to draw people in. It is a legitimate way to put something into the MLS, so they're not doing anything wrong. But 104 of those homes that we're talking about are not even on the market right now. So that number does get inflated a little bit by new construction whenever we see the new listings coming on the market. But going back to the pending, something that's very interesting here, and I'll pull some of this off here in a second, but if you look right here at the orange, 106 pendings this week. Well below 2024 and 2023 numbers. So barely outpaced 2025, but well below 2024 and 2023 numbers. There's two things I want to note out of this. Actually, probably three. But first of all, is this an anomaly or is this a trend? It's 1 week. I'm not worried about it right now. but we're really going to watch that closely, because if that number stays lower, we're going to see our active inventory continue to rise, which is going to give buyers a lot more choices, but it's going to put a lot more pressure on the sellers, and we could definitely then really start seeing some downward pressure on prices. The other thing is, well, a couple other things. One, if you see this little gap right here where there's not a whole lot of upper activity, this is your normal 4th of July, middle of the summer kind of drop off. And people say, well, I thought the summer was a great time to sell a house. Well, it's a great time to be under contract on one, but going under contract, I mean, here we are believe it or not, we're what, a little over a month away from school starting back again. So people are trying to get 4th of July vacations in. They're already starting to think about schools. So it's not unusual for our pendings to drop over the next couple of weeks. But look at the next 2 or 3 weeks. Traditionally, we do see a jump in pending home sales for those weeks. But then after that, we do see most years, we do see a real decline on that. And it's kind of evident here. If I pull off the 2023 numbers, you can see where if I drew a median line in here somewhere, we'd be level pretty much from where we've been in March all the way through, and this will put us into August here. But right after this, except for one spike week, you can see where we start dropping off from a seasonality standpoint. What does this mean to a seller? If you're a seller, you really got to think about not so much the next couple of weeks, but the 2 or 3 weeks after that. That's really got to be your prime time if you've been trying to sell your home to attract that buyer. So if you've been thinking about reducing the price, if you've been thinking about doing the painting, if you've been thinking about landscaping, whatever it is, you need to get that done and get all that right, because your best time to get the home sold is going to be in the next 3 to 5 weeks, and then after that, your odds start dropping off. Now, I had a conversation with a seller this week. It doesn't mean you won't sell in September, October, November, December. It just means that buyer activity is down on those days or those months. So let me see here. One other thing I wanted to look at, we talk about this all the time. We hit on it earlier about the expired and canceled. But the stat that I pulled out earlier is 45.1% of all listings never reach the closing table. Not only that, 92.8%, or if they sell, if you go, this chart right here shows if you go over 90 days. So if you go over 90 days, chances are you're getting around 92.8% of your original asking price. So it's definitely that 90-day is very important. You don't want to get there. The one other thing I want to look at just real quickly here is showing activity. We talk about this every week because it is a gauge of what's going to happen in the next 2, 3, 4 weeks. Showing activity actually rebounded this week. We went back over 2 showings per listing on average now. Now, you may have not got any, you may have got 6. I don't know. But we definitely saw a little bit of a jump right here, which is a good sign if you're a seller that there was a little bit more activity out there. We've talked about this plenty of times, but below 300,000, you're looking at probably about 6 showings a week. Quite frankly, if you're below 300,000, you may not even be on the market a week. That's just a very strong market right there. The 300,000 to 400,000, another strong market. That actually has jumped up a little bit, where you're getting about 5 showings a week. But any price point below that, you're getting less than that. And the lowest one right now is the 500 to the 600,000 price range. There's still buyers out there, but remember, there's a lot of competition out there. So you're looking right now at 0.84 showings per week. Whenever we look at the 30-day average, take the 30-day average and divide it out. But basically for this past week, it was 0.84 showings. So that is a very telling sign as far as what's going on with activity. We still see a lot in the lower price points. We see a lot of competition in our mid price points with the not only with the inventory that's out there from existing homes, but also from the new construction. And for a seller, it is tough to compete with new construction some, but there's plenty of existing homes that are selling. So let me see. Was there anything else I really wanted to hit on? I believe that's pretty much all I have on my notes. So let's recap. Demand is holding in Rutherford County. I am watching the pendings that dropped this week. Let's see if that's an anomaly. I do expect them to still be down a little bit for the next couple of weeks, but we will compare that to the data from the same time last year to see how that works. But nearly half of all sellers never make it to the closing table. Okay, and then the in the median price ranges for the buyers or for sellers, basically where the buyers are shopping, there's a lot more new construction competition as far as a seller goes. So we need to make sure that if we're a seller that we've taken that into account and that we are able to compete with new construction. If you cannot do it on presentation, you're going to have to do it on price. We feel like that if you are looking to make a real estate decision, a real estate move, good data helps you with that. And that's the reason why we bring this to you every week. We hope that it's helpful to you. If there's anything else you'd like to see in this data, please let us know. We've had some good comments over the past few weeks about some of our data. So please reach out to us with any comments, questions you have. If you want to get on our mailing list where you could get the charts every week and the breakdown, feel free to go to turnervictory.com and sign up for that. But we do appreciate you tuning in this week. And until next week, I hope you make it a great one. And I guess, man, it'll be the 4th of July too, won't it? So have a great 4th of July weekend as well. Thank you.